Now we need to organize these shells so that they fit within the 0 to 1 space, and that's seen here by this darker gray square. It has to be within this space in order to be painted upon. What we could do is scale these down so that they both fit, and we could maybe lay them out so that they were at a diagonal or something like that, and try to not have too much wasted space out here, thereby increasing the effective resolution of our texture. Now, it will be a problem if we have huge files with lots of empty space on them, because that's going to be a memory issue, especially if you've got a real-time game or something like that. So you want to be as efficient as possible. Let me just show you what it would look like if I scaled all this to fit within that 0 to 1 space as it is currently. I'm in UV component mode. Select all of those UVs, and then scale. And I can scale those and position them so that they fit into this space. But if I do that, then I'm going to have a huge amount of wasted space. The quality of this is going to be pretty poor because let's say it's a 1024 pixel texture here. I'm only using half of that. Now I could organize this better. I could set them at a diagonal or some way of, having better usage of the space. But I need to keep these two shells aligned here so that a row of pixels here from left to right is going to hit the same place on the object on either side of that seam. So I can't really move them vertically relative to each other. They have to be lined up like this. So what do? Well, I can actually make a texture that has a 2 to 1 aspect ratio instead of a 1 to 1 aspect ratio. So instead of my 0 to 1 space being square, I can make it rectangular. So for example, I could have a texture that was 1024 pixels tall and 2048 pixels wide. I'm going to undo those last moves that I did because those are just for demonstration purposes. I want to get back to that clean layout I started out with. The process for setting up a 2 to 1 aspect ratio in Maya is kind of funky. And what we need to do is create a texture that has that ratio and use that as a placeholder. And that's just kind of a weird property of Maya that we kind of have to work around. Because what we need to do is enable this menu here, image, use image ratio. And when that's on, Maya will look to the current texture on the object and try to determine what its aspect ratio is and scale the 0 to 1 space accordingly. So we have to have a texture to start out with. That means we need to go into a paint program. So let's go to Photoshop. I've already got it open. Open that up. I just need to make a placeholder image, and it doesn't even matter what it is. It just needs to be a 2 to 1 aspect ratio. Go to the File menu and choose New. I want to do this in pixels. I'll set the width to be 2048, and the height I'll set to 1024. We don't care about pixels per inch because this is never going to get printed. I'll just leave it white, it doesn't really matter. Click OK. And now I've got a canvas that's proportionally 2 to 1. 1 unit high, 2 units wide. And I'll save it. File, Save As. And it needs to go into my current project. My Documents, Maya, Projects, Texture Paint Project, Source Images. I want to choose a lightweight format such as PNG. And I'll call it Placeholder 2048 by 1024.png. For the compression options, we can choose smallest is fine. All right, that file's been saved now. And we can go back to Maya. Within Maya, we need to now build a simple material. Let's select the object, right-click and go to Object Mode. Select it again. Minimize the UV texture editor for a moment. And assign a new material. And again, this is just a placeholder. Right-click and choose Assign New Material. Make it a blend material. Rename it. Call it Fuselage Blend. Press Enter. Go to the Color channel and add a render node. Click on the checker button. It'll be a file node. Back in the attribute editor, click on the browser. Takes us to our current project source images and choose that placeholder image. And click open. We won't see anything in the viewport unless we press the 6 key. So give focus to the viewport and press 6. And now you can see we have a white texture on there. Very good. So now back in the UV texture editor, which I've got minimized, select the object, and we see a white background here because the texture that we've applied is white. And image display image is on. So let's dim the image. And then additionally, we can turn on image use image ratio. And when I do that, something happens. We can see the 0 to 1 space is now elongated. And the UVs are actually elongated too. What we need to do is scale these so that they fit within this new 0 to 1 space that has a 2 to 1 aspect ratio. However, I want to mention that if you're working on an iMac, there seems to be a bug in which if you have use image ratio enabled, you cannot actually select the UVs and scale them to fit. So that's kind of a weird issue. But it doesn't prevent us from doing what we need to do. We can just turn that feature off for a moment. So image, use image ratio off. And then scale all of this to fit within this 0 to 1 space. But we're going to scale it exactly 1/2 of its current width. Right-click and go into Shell or UV component mode. Select everything. And we got the scale tool. We need to scale these shells to 1/2 of their current width. There's not an easy way to do that using the scale tool, but we can scale it to be twice the current height. And so to do that, we'll hold down the J key and scale in the y-axis here. Just scale that to 200% of its current height. And then just scale and move the whole lot until it fits into that square. Get in a little bit closer. We can use the keyboard shortcuts. R is scale, W is move. We want to make sure that when we scale, we click on the center here to activate scaling in both axes. Okay, so we've got those scaled so that they fit within that 0 to 1 space. And now we go back up to the image menu, we can turn on use image ratio. And what we see now is both of those shells fit exactly within this new 0 to 1 space that has a 2 to 1 aspect ratio. Okay, so our UV layout is now finished. And at this stage, optionally, we can export a snapshot. But let's save at this point before we go any further. File, increment and save.